Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com. Hello and welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Johners, episode 259. So just one away from the magical number 260. But today I've got an awesome guest for a Tuesday evening. None other than one of the best in the UK, Europe, and further afield, many might say, Nathan CRUZ. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Johners, and thanks for that incredible geo. That was a good introduction.
Absolutely.
You can be my MC that travels around.
I try my best with these introductions. But it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And for anybody watching at home live across Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, if you want to get in touch with Nathan CRUZ, you can do. Just send them through using your chosen device. They'll ping through to us and we'll bring them up on screen and do our very best to answer every single question during the course of this broadcast. But first of all, Nathan, 1PW just around the corner. Now, I do have lots of graphics I'm going to bring up here, but 1PW are going to be part of this show from the Doncaster Dome, the 1st of October. Hell of a lineup, stacked card there. I think over 1,200 seats sold so far. And this is going to be your match.
1,300 as well.
Is it really? That's incredible. Your match is going to be for the MLW World Heavyweight Championship, my friend, Alex Hammerstone. So not a bad way to kind of relaunch 1PW with a stacked roster, nearly 1,300 fans in the Dome. And you've got a world title match against Alex Hammerstone. Well, it does bring us to our first question, who sent us a question before we went live tonight from Darren Ewan. How do you feel going into the match against Hammerstone? So tell us about your feelings going into the match, which is only a few weeks away now.
Yeah, you know, like it's a great opportunity, and not just for myself. I think for Hammerstone, this is his first UK match, to my knowledge. So it's cool that I get to share that experience with him in the ring. I've seen his stuff online. I mean, I'm a bit of an old school wrestling fan. I like how he looks. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he has the body I wish I eventually got to, but I just didn't have I didn't have those type of genetics when I started. No, man, he looks the part. He carries himself quite well. I'm excited to just anytime I get matches like that. To me, I instantly just look at what happens when these two characters meet. Like that's how I kind of approach any wrestling match, and so instantly I start seeing the potential that's there. I'm just looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
it's going to be special, and doing 1PW just on that subject because. You know, them being a Yorkshire brand, I used to go watch those shows as a kid, like what I say, a teenager. You know, even after I just broke into the wrestling industry, so I remember going to their big 1-year anniversary show, and it's really cool to be able to. There's something that I'd never would have predicted would have been on the tick list, but now it is, and that's kind of cool. Like I'm looking forward to that night. What that means to me and so many other people that are there. You know, Robbie X, I know it's a big deal to him as well, and he's a very close friend of mine. It'll be just a really. I'm hoping in general, like the audience are gonna feel it. I'm sure, but I can already sense like how positive this backstage atmosphere is going to be for that night.
Yeah, like I say, a stacked roster, talent from all over the UK, all over the world, Nathan, and 1,300 rabid fans in the Doncaster Dome. Just the atmosphere alone is going to send chills when you step through them curtains, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's one of those, that, you know, those type of... I won't say I get that nervous that much now with wrestling. Like, I'm so kind of relaxed with where I feel like it's my comfort zone, you know, after missing it for so long as well over the last couple of years. Like it's where I feel the most relaxed. But there is always that odd match and that odd moment where you feel those. It's like your first match all over again. And I've got a feeling Donny Dome. I think I'm going to have one of them this Friday. We're back at the Hull City Hall for NGW, and I can already feel like that's like somebody put online recently on the Wish Me Happy Birthday, and he said, honestly, I can't wait to see you in that City Hall again. Seeing you in the City Hall is like seeing CM Punk in Chicago. So I was like, wow, it's a huge comparison. But do you know, like, that's kind of extra pressure, because then you know the expectations there. And already I'm like, I'm just, yeah, it means so much to me to be back in that venue and for the NGW brand. And yeah, I can't. And it's, you know, the old generation meeting the new generation. That a lot of that new generation are my students, which is even more incredible to see them, you know, getting that moment. It's yeah, Friday's going to be big as well. I've got so much coming up that I'm so excited about at the moment.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking that you've just returned from a tour of the States and you did some shows over there? To tell us a bit about that.
Yeah.
So where did you travel to, and give us a bit of an insight into some of your matches, or who you were performing with?
Yeah, I mean, I was all over the place, but really, I was out there for just a break more than anything. Like, I just, you know, Cash Wheeler's a very good friend of mine, and I'd not seen him in over 2 years. John Schuyler, same story. Those guys live in Orlando, and I was like, you know, like, kind of pieced together that we could put somewhat of a little tour together, and it made sense. So, but yeah, when I was there, I was just having the best time, just traveling all over the United States, whether I was wrestling or I wasn't wrestling. Because, you know, there was a couple of times, like, for example, I got to go to Nashville. I wasn't on that weekend working, but it was cool to reconnect with people there that I'd not seen in such a long time. Hiromu Takahashi was one of them. Like, we went way back in 2013. He was over for Brian Dixon on All Star, and that same summer, that was when Cash Wheeler and John Schuyler were there as well. And then here we are, Hiromu, and he was like, "Oh, Nathan," he remembered me as from Brian Dixon's All Star Wrestling. It absolutely broke me. Like, just that it was Brian Dixon's All Star Wrestling. I was like, "Oh, Hiromu, I've missed you." It was real good to see him again. And then I was working for Lariotto Pro in Georgia. Was the first one that I did for Doc Gallows, and that was great. Like, just, you know, those southern states are just great wrestling fans. They love wrestling, and they love being part of the show. You know, like, that's a huge help, a huge benefit when you're out there. You know, to really have the crowd with you all the way from start to finish. And I don't get me wrong, I don't mind working for it. Like, we had to this Saturday at Carnival, but it's when you have rabid fans like they are in Georgia, and it was from start to finish. I got to meet an absolute legend of the American wrestling independent scene there by the name of Bob Keller. And that honestly made my trip. Like, I honestly, like, you know, people like that who have been around for so long and helped so many talents come through, but with not necessarily quote unquote making it. You know what I mean? Like, they never got to the recognition of a WWE or something like that, but they contributed so much to the wrestling industry. You know, that some of those talents did go on to WWE or Impact or New Japan. And he's an absolute diamond of a human being as well. Like, he had me laughing the moment I met him. We went out for dinner together, a big group of us that night, with Skylar as well. It was absolutely brilliant. I just loved it. I was very grateful to Doc for giving me that opportunity. Got to work in a cool little tag match against some of Skylar's trainees as well, which was good. Like, and then there was a couple of other guys in there that were from the independent scene. Tag team match, which I love doing tag team matches, because I'm very enthusiastic about tag team wrestling, really. Having good tag matches and telling good tag team stories. I think it's you're instantly given a gimmick when you're given that on the card. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see in maybe another 4 singles match or whatever, but you know, you've instantly got something else to play with there, and I love that. And I was kind of, you know, without taking lead of veteran, you just kind of, I end up in that role, because they realize, oh, Nathan knows what he's talking about here, and it's an odd.
What he's doing.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and you know, I'm only just kind of coming to terms with that since we've come back from, like, lockdown. Like, I started to kind of take that role at, like, the NGW Butland shows prior to the lockdown, but then, like, you know, so much after that, where so many, like, someone like a Rampage isn't around now, and so many other people had kind of gone on to different things. Don't get me wrong, you've still got incredible greats like Dean Allmark that, you know, I will prize of all day has been better than me. But you are now in that position where you realise that, oh, actually, I've got a lot of experience now. Like, for example, that match I'm talking about was match 1,812, because I do keep a count. And it's very rewarding to give back, even in a foreign country as well, where you're not, you know, my name don't mean anything to them, you know, unless they've watched, like, Progress from chapter 1 to straight through.
Yeah.
They probably may have never heard of me, and I'm fine with that. That's absolutely fine. So I don't expect them to, but when they when you come back and they are all happy with how you helped them, and you know that you've left that changing room better than you found it. That's genuinely, I honestly, like, I've changed so much in the last few years, but I find such. I think it's almost like I get a little buzz from that. Like, I know, like, that's cool. Like, I've really helped those guys, and like, I heard from one of them the other day, Zucker, when we flew home. Like, there was no reason for him to drop me a message, but he just did, to say how much he enjoyed the experience of getting to work with me, and to wish me a safe flight. And I was like, oh man, what a good dude. Like, just, there's another kid out there. In fact, I wrestled him in 2019, just while I've got the opportunity, so I want to put him over because I went back. He was wrestling Skyler at New Japan Strong. So if you've got the Fight Network, check this match out. John Skyler versus Lucky Ali. And Lucky Ali has come on so much. He's so young. I think he's one of them talents that instantly catches your eye. Like, I think the sky's the limit. As long as he stays humble, and he really does keep himself humble, like, he's got a huge future ahead of him. He really impressed me. Like, so yeah, check him out. Yeah. Check that match out. It's a very good match because Skyler's a very good wrestler too.
Absolutely. And like I say, I want to keep on more recent events, but I've got to talk about Wrestle Carnival because you had your first match for Wrestle Carnival. I think it was last November. And in January, you started a bit of a war of words with Joseph Connors. And like I said, this past Saturday in the HMV Empire in Coventry, another fantastic crowd there, a great venue and a brilliant card. I'd say you aligned yourself with Robbie X, Mark Haskins, Vicky Haskins. Let's just bring up a few pictures here from what happened backstage afterwards. But a hell of a show. Your involvement in your match with Danny Jones, wasn't it? You had a match with Danny Jones, fantastic match, and but a lot of fun, a great crowd. And like I say, I think what's most intriguing is what happens after the match. Your alignment with three people you know very, very well, Vicky and Mark Haskins and Robbie X. But some exciting times in Wrestle Carnival, and you're very much a part of that. And like I say, a lot of good matches and storylines to get your teeth into. Yeah,
I couldn't have been. I was just so happy to see Mark and Vicky in particular. I'd not seen so long, and when I got there, I was absolutely thrilled to see him. It was my birthday that day as well, and I was like, this is just making my day. I got to travel with Robbie. Me and Robbie have travelled and room shared a zillion times, but it never gets old when I get to see him again and get to hang out with him. And then
you're great.
So you tell me, like all three of them, I think the world of. So you getting to tell me that I get to do the thing that I love investing my passion into the most with three of my favourite people. Fuck yeah, that sounds a right good idea. Like,
absolutely.
When Gary pitched that to me, they of putting us through together, I was like, yeah, that's absolutely, it's like, there's no question in my mind that I want to do this. There's no reservation whatsoever. I was so, and I just love, what Mark and I have been wrestling for the same length of time, 16 years. But like, we've gone on completely different journeys. Mark's had some great success, and anytime I work with Mark, I become better. So I'm excited that, at this late stage of my career, there's so much experience that Mark's had that I haven't had that he can now pass on to me. And likewise with Rob, like, Rob's going from strength to strength to strength, and I've been very blessed to see his journey from him being 14, like when we first met. And I've just seen how, like, I couldn't be more proud of what he's done since like the last couple of years in particular, like, and everyone's now realizing. And the funny thing is like, Robbie's been that good for years. Like, he really has. Like, some of the matches we was doing on those NGW Butlins crowds, I was like, hell, if people saw what you can do, Rob, like, you'd be so busy, man. And then, now to see him probably busier than anybody on the scene, yeah, man, he deserves it. I'm so happy for him. So yeah, it's cool to do that, but together, and make it here.
Yeah. And like I say, Wrestle Carnival was fairly new on the scene last year, so just over 12 months ago. But when you look at the transition that British wrestling's had to go through over the last 12 or so months, and it's been a steady incline, isn't it? It's made a steady. It's slowly getting back onto its feet from where it was previously. What's your kind of current take on where the British wrestling landscape is currently? Like, so you've got a lot of new groups that have come in over the last 12 months. Yeah, and like I say, there's a lot of good people doing a lot of good things. But is it kind of getting back to where it was before in terms of popularity? And where would you kind of assess British wrestling at the moment in 2022, Nathan?
I'd say it's on the edge, and I don't think it's nothing to do with the talent or the product itself. I think it's just the economy. This is going to be the greatest battle it's ever going to face. If people are going to struggle this winter to either feed the families or put the heating on, going to a wrestling show is going to be the last thing on the mind, especially things like Christmas and things like that. You have to remember, in this cool world and reality that we create with professional wrestling, we are very much part of a real world with people who have real life problems. And when you're a bill payer and a mortgage payer, you realize it yourself, right? So you have to understand that. I know I'm going to have to cut back on my own luxuries, so everybody else is. So it's going to be a very testing time, I think, for promoters in particular. I mean, the talent as well. I mean, if the promoters out there, then we can't be there, right? And likewise, if there isn't enough wrestlers around, like who are the promoters promoting, it is going to be a real testing time. But it's not like British wrestling hasn't gone through testing times. It kind of just goes in circles. When I started in 2007, it was the shits. It was really struggling. But that was literally as one PW closed, and then everything else was just like, there was just bones. There wasn't really much left, and every so often something would happen where it tried to come back, and it would try to come back, and there was still some, there was effort, but there was nothing happening until around like when we hit that boom in probably starts around 2013, but it really started to peak in like 15 through to like 19. It was incredible. This is an absolute, I'd say a second golden era almost. But it goes in circles, and at the moment we're just in a low point, and we've just got to try and survive it. Then it will.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody watching at home on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, don't forget to get your questions in for Nathan CRUZ. We do have questions that have already come in before we went live, but we do want your questions flooding in during the course of this broadcast. But Nathan, I want to ask you about your character, because when we saw each other backstage in November last year, I think that was Wrestle Carnival Pure, but I'm just a very different Nathan CRUZ, and that was certainly evident in the backstage interview you did with me last November. But where did this kind of version of Nathan CRUZ manifest itself? What was the kind of origins or the inspiration behind it? I mean, when we spoke on Saturday, I said, this is going to be kind of how the interview is going to go, talk about your history, your goals, your aspirations, your frustrations. You told me, Johners, there's a lot of frustrations, believe me. Is any of that kind of part of the character that we see now in 2022, Nathan?
It is, yeah. This is a huge question, really. But yeah, I firstly, when I made the decision to kind of like, no, I still want to wrestle, I still want to do this. I was like, I can't just come back and give them the same thing, because what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, what's the point in? I don't know. Like, if things have to change, you have to change. Like, look at the Undertaker; he changed every year. Look at Chris Jericho; but it's still that same character at the core of it. But it's just a different evolution of it. You just have to evolve, I guess, is what I'm saying. So I always had that in my mind. I just needed to get a couple matches in again, just so I can, can still do this stuff. And thank you, Ricky Knight Jr. for that first match back. Like, couldn't have done it with anybody better. But it was after that, and I was kind of thinking about, not to talk about too much, but like everybody had to do something in lockdown, right? I went on a huge spiritual journey because I was unhappy with the person that I've become, and a lot of it stemmed from my depression that I'd gone through from everything that happened with WWE. Okay, and no fault of theirs. I don't want to start sound like I'm throwing shade at WWE, because I'm not at all. Essentially, I got offered a contract in 2016, and when it came to the medical, I had high blood pressure, which I didn't know about, and that rules you out of, you fail the medical, you can't have the contract. And I'd never truly processed that. I just cracked on, because that's the only thing. I was like, well, that sucks, but NGW need me in Bognor tomorrow, so best pack my bag and off I go, right? And I just carried on with it, and I didn't really address it, and I became a very dark side of myself that I'm not proud of at all. But I couldn't I couldn't get to sleep at night because I just would dwell on this thing that like you had everything you ever wanted, and in one sentence it's gone. I couldn't sleep, so I'd come home, like I'd get in from say like a 3-day when we'd been away on the road doing live events or live events for Butlins, and then whatever else I was doing for independence on that weekend, and then I'd come home. I couldn't get to sleep all night, so I'd just sit up drinking and taking tramadol, fucking stupid. But you know, it was a real dark place. I didn't speak about it. I think it's only in the last year I've been able to talk about this. Like I just kept that from everybody. And then definitely, without realizing, was developing an alcohol dependency. Like that was becoming my thing, and that's not good. It's not going to help my fucking blood pressure either. And don't get me wrong, there was definitely positive points along that way. Like in 2018 when we did WOS, and I remember that incredible team that we had for that Butlins run that year. Like I was fine. You know what I mean? It would go in spells up and down but it was different points of me just ignoring the root cause, and the root cause was the fact that Nathan, you just fell short of your dream. It's okay to be fucking a bit upset about that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally.
And I never gave myself chance to process that. And then when everything stops, and you're forced to stop, and you're forced to think about things, like fuck me, yeah, this is you've been behaving like an asshole, but this is why, like you seriously depressed. And it's been an absolute struggle to get through, and but I've got into like meditation and a bunch of other things that have really helped me so much. And on that way, like I started to think of like, I start to think about this about everything. How can I turn a negative into a positive? Well, how do I turn this into a positive? This was the worst thing that ever happened to me directly. I can turn this into the reason my wrestling character has lost his mind, because he'd had it. I could have lost my mind but like I had everything I ever wanted, and now I'm being forced at days. Was forced into a day job. I was forced into giving up on my dreams and falling in line like everybody else, because the world came to a halt, and because of what happened in 2016 meant that I didn't have that financial security from the professional wrestling had promised me. If I'd do all these things right, if I would give show-stealing performances, if I would be a memorable character like the Prima Donna, if I would be a professional and show up on time in a suit and do whatever job role was asked of me, I did all those things, it'd get me to where I wanted to be. And yes, it did. The promise, it worked. All those things work. Don't think that they don't, because they do. Like, but fate was just against me. Who knew I was going to have high hypertension. So that was where the joke comes into it, right? And then, obviously everyone's going to draw connections with the Joker. I'm a huge Batman fan, have been all my life. And for me to channel, and then it was when I watched Jacqueline Phoenix's Joker back, and just that moment when he gets told that the guy that gave him the gun originally, he told the boss that Arthur had tried to actually give him the gun, and he hears that on the phone. He's like, he said that, and then the next, you see his heartbreak, but you also kind of sees how disgusting and unfair the world can be at the same time. And the next thing, he's like kicking the garbage in the alleyway, and I was like, that's it. Like that's the point in my life where the joke happened. There's the punchline. You've put all this fucking hard work in. I'm going to dangle a carrot right in front of your fucking face. Here it is. Boom. Sorry, you've got high blood pressure. That's the punchline, and that's the point where the character snaps. And I've been walked on. I've been treated like a mug. Everyone's against me. Yeah, and that's where it's come from. And I just, it's a different creative outlet. I'm a very I love being creative, like away from wrestling. Like I used to, I've got a background in acting. I used to love that stuff. So anytime I can sink my teeth into a new character and really try and find something that's, it's unique, and this time for me, really being an extension of myself, and something that's happened to me. Like I just, it's a, maybe this is my form of therapy. I don't know. I just know I'm having fun doing it. So,
absolutely, and I'm just going to flash up them pictures again, because I think this perfectly demonstrates kind of the character development and the transition that you've gone through. And certainly there's been evidence since wrestling came back last year. And speaking of coming back last year, you mentioned it earlier, but your very first match was against this guy here. Your first match back, I think it was June 2021 against RKJ. Just like yourself, arguably one of the best wrestlers in the UK, Europe, the world, and it was for the WAW Undisputed Championship. You had a show-stealing match, and then after the match, he cut a promo, a very heartfelt promo, calling you, like I say, one of the best pro wrestlers in the whole world, and that it's a crime that you're not signed by a major company. When you have peers like that, kind of from the heart, telling you how they feel about you, what does that mean to you, especially the RKJ promo? And it's been said by many, many others before, but that must be. It must be bittersweet for you when you hear things like that for you.
Yeah, it is kind of bittersweet, but it never ceases to make my heart flutter. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, I really feel it, like, because, I want to entertain wrestling fans. Of course I want to entertain wrestling fans. That is my job. But to get respect from your peers is so, like, because they know what goes into this. If you're on the other side of the barricade, I appreciate you. Of course, I appreciate you. But I'm sorry, you can never fully understand the magnitude of what goes into what we do, to how you have to approach every single match. You think about, there's so much that goes through your mind before you even put the athleticism into it. Like, and you follow in direction. Anyway, I'm mumbling now. It just, when you get those things from people, you respect their ability as well. It genuinely does. Ricky had me in tears that night, and even more so when I came backstage and it was the family were there, because I remember when I first started, I heard about the Knight family, and I'd seen Roy Zebra Kid on TV, and I had so much admiration for what they'd done and for where all of them were going. Zach's one of the nicest people you'd ever hope to meet. And Rhea, before she got signed and went off, and even when she was signed for that matter, I've seen her plenty of times since then. She's an incredible person. Like, I've just got so much, respect for them, and for them to give that love to me, I was in floods of tears. I was, and then I remember that night, just that night as well. Giving you an example, like Cash knew that was my first match back, so he FaceTimed me, and Matt Myers held the camera through the curtain so that he could watch it, because he wanted to watch it live, which, that means so much. You know what I mean? Like, you stop at those moments and realize, shit, like, I might not have got the financial reward, but I've clearly done something right. And like, I could sit here and list a long list of people who have give me similar praise, and I'm getting choked up now thinking of it.
I'm sure we mentioned many of them during the course of this chat, Nathan. But
I don't want to, because then I'm just saying, like, I'm just putting myself over, and if they're doing it for me, so I don't have to. It's cool.
Put yourself over all you want.
No, I don't. I'm honestly, I don't really like to. It's just that, when you do ask that question, I do think of all those people that have said those things to me over the years. I mean, literally, just when I was in America, Zach Gibson, bless him, me and him were just messaging back and forth while I was there. And he said it again. He said, like, I know, and he said it's probably bittersweet and you're probably sick of hearing it, but it honestly blows my mind that no one's picked you up yet, because you're the best TV wrestler that I've seen. Like, he for him to still have that, it was one thing for him to have that opinion when he was here and was working. Me and him were working on local TV for Bay TV in Liverpool or whatever. But like, for him to now gone on and done the things that he's done with not just NXT UK but NXT, and now he's going up to main roster, which if anybody was going to get it from the UK, it was Zach. Like, he's fucking brilliant. And but him saying that as well, again, I'm just like, it is kind of bittersweet, Zach. But it is also, from a peer, it always is very flattering.
It means
always
more from your peers, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It 100% does. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about BWR, because I know it's a promotion that's very close to your heart. I think you first started wrestling for them in about 2019, but certainly in the last 12 months or so, you've had a great run with BWR. I think you had a heavyweight championship match against Robbie X. You became 2-time BWR tag team champions with your very close friend and tag team partner Matt Myers, of course, and doing some great things with your faction, second to none. But tell us a bit about your journey with BWR, because I know you're head trainer with their academy, but BWR has kind of been, I would say, pretty much your home promotion in the last 12 months, haven't they? I think we got a bit of a delay on the line here, but
that place has meant so much to me. Like, it helped me rekindle my passion for this, like, in a big way. And it's funny because for the longest time I thought they didn't like me. Oh, has it come back? Sorry, is it still?
Yeah, no, that's all right. Please continue.
Are we okay there, Jonas?
Yeah, I think we're all good. Carry on, mate.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, it said that it broke up. All right. Yeah, they've just meant so much. And like I say, when I ages ago thought that they, for some reason, didn't like me. Like, I couldn't, like, it was like, because they was using Myers, and then they started using one of my students, and I was like, they've never asked me. And I came and did one match with Joe Henry, and then nothing again kind of happened after that for a while. And I started to think, they just, they weren't happy with it, they didn't see it or whatever. But that was far from it. In fact, I think that the issue was that they just wanted to bring me in the right way. They felt like, so I had a good story that they feel I could add to, and that just happened to be second to none. It was like, well, who better to team with Myers at this point? And I was like, yeah, I love it. And Myers wanted it as well. He wanted us to have like a good tag team run somewhere. I was so keen to that because, all the times we've been rivals, even though we've grown up together, since we were 7 years old, just wanted to be wrestlers together. And we've always ended up being rivals on shows. We've never actually had like a good tag team run. This has been awesome to do with him, like, because he's really moving into a different chapter of his life now. He's a father, he's married, and I'm so happy and have so much love for him for that. And I respect that, he's got to do this, and it's cool that we get to do this stuff together still and do like the tag team thing. And some of the matches I've had at BWR recently, I genuinely consider some of my best work. The one where we lost the tag team titles, my favorite match is always when I lose belts, because I'm a bad guy normally. And if you do your job right, you get an incredible reaction. And that night we fucking had him, and like it was just a complete culmination of the story, particularly for Jimmy McKilwee, who like started as a character there who would just wrestle for food, and then he's worked his way up, he's won the hearts of that crowd. But now he has to show that Jimmy ain't just pot luck and a little guy who does comedy stuff. He can actually wrestle. He's been especially in the last couple of years, he's been training with me quite a lot. And I wanted to show that. I wanted to show that Jimmy can really go when he wants to. And it was, I was so proud of that match. And it was literally the last thing I did before I flew to America. I did that match, went home, got showered, repacked my bag, got ready, and went to the airport. And I was so fucking happy with it. But the students as well, like the students that are coming through that Evo Academy, there's a kid. There's plenty of them. I mean, R&R kind of on the scene already. Like, they're very good. Yeah. I'm immensely
I had them on the show a few months ago. Top guys and doing some amazing things, and different to a lot of other tag teams out there. Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm super proud of them. But there's a kid that isn't getting recognised at the moment, but I think when eyes get on him, he's gone. There's a kid called Vusic. He is so talented. So incredibly talented, and he's so motivated, so disciplined. Just an absolute pleasure to train, and to see him now, like the academy shows that I'm getting to do there, the Evo ones, which is my first go at like booking shows, so that's kind of cool. I'm enjoying that. But like that's giving them that platform, and then being able to watch them and critique them right after it or whatever, and give them direction and help them put these matches together, and then kind of just let them sink or swim in situations, and like, okay, so you understand about this telling a story stuff, right? Go out and tell me your story. Let's see what you can do. And he has excelled in that so much. I mean, a lot of, you know, Hard Man Dan, brilliant character, and he's somebody else that's come on so much as well. But I genuinely think like Vusic is and I'm not saying Hard Man Dan isn't going to get that, or any of the other students that are coming out of there like an R&R. But I think Vusic's shown something in such a short amount of time. He is a superstar in the making in years, and I just want to put that focus on him right now, just because I want to be the first to say I told you so, and I also don't want him to get that. I want him to get out there, like, so. Yeah, any promoters are watching this, please give him an opportunity. You won't be disappointed. He's a wonderful, disciplined kid, and I'm very proud of him, and I'm very, very excited for his future. And yeah, that came from BWR. Like, all of that's come from BWR. I've had nothing but they've helped me find me again. Like, I lost me for a long time, and they've really helped me, and remind me just how much I fucking love pro wrestling. I really do love it.
Yeah. Well, when did you first become head trainer there then? Because I'm going to flash up some pictures here. There's obviously yourself as the head coach, Matt Myers as well, and Scotty Rourke is part of the team. But when did that kind of all come together?
They first approached me about it, I want to say towards the end of 2020, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was. I can't remember when we originally officially reopened. No, that would have been, I imagine, around April 21, because that's when things started to open up again.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The last 2 years is such a blur, man. But yeah, they approached me, I think, by the end of 2020, or maybe before that. But like, I was like, absolutely, yeah. Like, I'd been the coach at New Generation Wrestling for a long time now. At that point, like a head coach, that's where R&R started with me. It's where Vusic started with me, funny enough. And it was just, it was something I loved. I really did. I've loved being a coach. Like, from when I first started, just being an assistant coach there in like 2012, and then starting to help like my first student that I ever directly trained was Ace Matthews, and seeing where he's gone and stuff like that. Like, I have a real love for that. That's so different to my love for actually being in there, and it's one that I've only really, since doing these Evo shows, that I've been able, because I am sitting back and I'm not even thinking about how cool it would be to be in there right now. I am just so happy to see them getting to do it, like, and I'm so happy to sit there and take notes and know that I'm giving them something to help. But it just blows my mind that I'm now watching that. I sit there sometimes and I say to Adam, man, we're watching a student show. Like, the standard's fucking right.
Yeah.
Like, this is it's consistently climbing. And again, going back to what I said about leaving a change room better than you found it, if I can help British wrestling, like, whenever I do bugger off, like, if I can leave it better than I found it, that's mission accomplished, right? That's what 100%. I want to do, and that's what I get to do through that academy. And BWR, you know, really have given me that opportunity. I'm not saying New Generation Wrestling didn't, because they really did, but BWR, like, at a time when I needed it the most, have been there for me, and I love those guys. I really do. Everybody that works there, Kay, she didn't get enough. Like, I don't think she wants a spotlight on her too much, but she's an absolute wonderful person, and I'm so grateful to them all. I really am.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to be checking out Busick for sure. But take us all the way back, Nathan. When did pro wrestling first come into your life as a fan then? I know you've been a lifelong wrestling fan and you've always wanted to be a pro wrestler, but when did you first become a fan, and what sort of impact did it have on you kind of back in the early days?
So I can't tell you when. Like, I was, because it was always there. My dad watched it. And then my uncle, like, we never used to have Sky Television, so I guess at some point the wrestling must have gone off the whatever channel my dad watched it on when I was a real little. And then my uncle got Sky Television when I was like 5, 6. So he used to make me like these tapes with all different stuff on it. I'd have like Spider-Man animated series, Batman animated series, X-Men, Power Rangers, and wrestling was on there. I think it would have been super. Yeah. I think it would have been like WF superstars. So my earliest memories of it: a British Bulldog, the dude in pink, Bret Hart, and the Undertaker. I was like the biggest Undertaker fan. And then and then from there, like I don't know, it was just always there. And then by the time I was like 7, 8, I was in deep. Like this was all I watched. Like I didn't give a crap about football anymore, or anything. The only thing I wanted to watch was WCW or WWF. And then I got, through the fact that the only other kid at my school that watched both was Matt Myers. And we just became best friends from like 7 years old. Like we had to bring a toy to school day. I think I brought Goldberg and he brought Nash. I genuinely think that might have happened. And then it was like, oh, you watch WCW? Yeah, you watch WCW. You just became best friends. Yeah, we did. Like that was it from that point on, and we just rode this wave together of just like being avid fans. But the turning point for me, I was 10 years old, and it was WrestleMania 17, still in my opinion the greatest wrestling pay-per-view of all time. And I was sat on my bed, and I'm watching I'm a big Undertaker fan, and he just beats Triple H in front of 63,000 people in the Astrodome, I think it was, which was in his hometown of Houston, Texas. And he's draped over the middle rope, he's got blood trickling down his forehead, and he looks out at all those people and he says, "This is my fucking yard." And I remember thinking, wow, like they will never know him on a personal level. I will never know him on a personal level, but he's made us all, like, he's just given us an incredible moment. Like, I kind of registered with me that, like, he's made me feel something. I want to do that. Like, I can't just be a fan. Like, I've got to do this. Like, that, like, Mark Calloway has just affected Nathan Irwin, this 10-year-old kid in Hull, England, without knowing. How cool would it be to do that for a living? How cool would it be to get to wrestle for a living? And then that was it. Man made up. Genuinely, man was made up at 10 years old, and it didn't waver once, not once. Like some people would, like, oh, maybe I actually want to do this. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Evidence.
Look at that guy there.
There
we go. But that was the kid that was bitten.
Yeah, that was it. I had to do it. And yeah, luckily enough, by the time I was 15, I got to start doing this stuff and battering my body up.
Absolutely. But you started training. You started training with Matt, didn't you? Hey, I've got all the pictures here. But you started training with Matt, didn't you? Let's bring that one up again. That's a great picture.
There we go. Look, like I was already wrestling at that point. Like, that was taken in Australia. And
really?
I was already a year into my. We weren't wrestling out there; it was part of a performing arts thing out there.
Oh, okay.
But like, yeah, I was already a year into wrestling there, and I'd actually put on weight. That was how small I was when I started. I was so small. This is the thing. I had to really work hard for. I still feel like I'm not big enough, but like I can at least say, well, when I started, I was lucky if I hit 9 stone. As well, now I'm I'm a good 14 and a half to 15 stoner, so it's all right.
Yeah. So when you started training about 16 years old, is that correct?
No, 15. 15? I started in the March. I would have been 15. I had my first match August 26th, 2006, which was a few weeks before my 16th birthday.
Wow.
So I was 15 years old when I had my first couple matches. Got beat up by men, grown men. Look, it's one of.
Oh,
you got that, if you have on about pictures, have you got that picture of that hand mark that's on my back?
I didn't save that one. I do know the one you mean, and check it out on Nathan's Instagram.
If you know what, check it out. Like you can see like the individual lines in the dude's hand where came about. That was my first ever match. Yeah. But like people always, I get asked about that. Like, do you feel like they took advantage? Like it's a shitty way of doing things, and I don't do it myself. But I don't discredit the lessons that I got from that. I don't hold any animosity against those people for that stuff. If you know what I mean. Like I do it. I ain't saying that it is the way to go things. That's why I don't do it. But it does teach you early on that this job is physical, because I think that's the big misconception, is that they know what they're doing so they don't get hurt. Well, actually, no, there's a difference between fixed and fake. The way to do this job so effectively is you do have to get a bit stuck into each other. Like, again, those of us at Carnival can probably attest to what me and Danny Jones were smacking the hell out of each other's chest with chops and clubbering each other with forearms and stuff. But there's an element to that physicality that is enjoyable in a weird way. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
it's just combat sports, though, right? People love
Of course it
MMA and
is.
things
Of
like that.
course it is.
There's an enjoyment to it, but the audience needs that to a degree always. I'm not saying like we enjoy it, or maybe we do, but I'm saying like the audience do enjoy that. They enjoy seeing that. So you do have to sometimes get stuck in. Like, there's a reason everybody loves a good chop on a show and wooing and all that stuff. Like, and it's not that many people always wincing. And do you know what I mean? Like, they're enjoying that physicality. Sometimes you do have to give them it. So yeah, I don't always discredit those lessons I got early on for
Yeah.
like the big hand marks and getting battered at 15 years old.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to skip forward a couple of years, and I think you was kind of there when NGW first came on the scene. I think that was 2010, and you would have been about
Oh no,
18
oh
years
08,
old.
oh 08.
Oh, was it 08? But you were there from
Yeah.
their pretty much their very first show, weren't you? I mean, did you feel that even from them early days, did you feel that that was something very special even back then? Because obviously it got bigger and obviously did the holiday camp circuit and became this big thing on TV. But you were there from the beginning. You must have felt that a bit of a groundswell of something special going on when NGW started.
No, not when it first started. When it first started, it kind of seemed cool because originally it wasn't Rich Dunn in charge. It's a friend of mine, Luke Ingemels, and he was a wrestler at the time, and he reached his ceiling very early, and because of that, it kind of miscued what he was wanting to do with NGW, and the product was hindering badly because of it. Like, it barely made that first year, and it was frustrating to me because I did know there was potential. There was 100% potential there in the talent that they had there. Myself and Matty being two of them. And I was like, I know we can do something with this. I just don't know how we're going to get there. Then by chance, Rich Dunn got involved with NGW. He wanted to become a promoter, and I think he'd done a bit of time working with Andy Quilden down south, just kind of like an apprentice, which I respected immensely. As soon as he said that, I was like, well, yeah, like, you've gone to an actual wrestling promoter to learn how to promote wrestling. Seems like a good idea. So I was like, okay, like, yeah. And he had like radio interviews and things set up for NGW, which was things Luke would never have even thought about. But in 2009, we needed it. And he kind of did like his first one, which was like NGW versus the old IPW that Andy Quilden used to have. So it was a cool show. Drew the best attendance NGW had had. So instantly I was like, I think Rich is somebody we could really kind of trust to help us get out of here. And he did. He really did. He worked hard. He was working alongside Luke. So Luke, he kind of, gave Luke that kick up the arse that he needed, and Luke stepped down from being a wrestler, and that helped a lot because then he's not thinking about his moments on the show anymore. He's just thinking about what's going to be best for NGW, and that was when Luke kind of got his shit together, and them two together actually were creating a good wrestling product. And then from that, Rich was very trusting of me because I was out on the scene a lot at that point by like 2009. He was trusting of me to kind of help look out for talent. And he would come along to shows with me as well and see other people that he would also be interested in. It was so refreshing to have somebody who was willing to not just listen to our ideas, but he'd listen to Sam Bailey's ideas. He would listen to, all these different people that were working for us at the time. He'd listen to their ideas, and he might not take them all on board. That's fair. It's his promotion, it's his show. But it was refreshing to be able to have a creative outlet and somebody who was still willing to admit, I'm still learning this as I go along. And he was, but he was doing it brilliantly. And it was the reason why I wanted to invest so much more of my time and energy into it. Like, all those build-up videos from like 2010 when NGW started to get like notice and traction. That was me and an incredibly talented video editor by the name of Andrew Dyer, runs out of pooch.edits on Instagram if you want to check him out. He's an incredibly gifted video editor, and we used to just stay up all hours making these build-up videos to help get more people into the doors at NGW because I knew what Rich was giving them was a great product. And we were all enjoying it. And like from Colossus Kennedy, I remember when him coming in and the storyline of him building to his first bump, didn't take a bump for 1 year because he's a giant, right? And it was so good. And it was such a well-written story. And I'll never forget the night he first took that first bump. You've never heard such a reaction for a bump. And I was at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm loving this company. Like, this is where I'm very happy. And I was at that time, I was having a nice little run as the champion and getting to learn how to do main events, which was really good for me in my career. And one of my favorite matches, losing the title to Matt Myers, Eternal Glory 2011. I think it's on the line on YouTube. I just loved it for that moment, for me and Matty doing our first main event together, where people actually cared. Like, it had been a local newspaper. We sold out the venue. It was like, this is fucking cool as fuck, man. Like, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Like, it was so, yeah, it just meant a lot to us both. And I remember it was like, you know, especially as a heel, these moments happen a lot as a bad guy. Like, your favorite moments are when you leave in the ring. You're kind of like an artist getting to stand back and watch everybody in the room look at your art. And I remember crawling up the ramp and just turning around, and the fans had broke the guardrail and got in the ring, and we're now holding Matty on the shoulders. And I was like, wow, we just made that. That's pretty cool. And I come into the backstage, and the first person I see was Rampage, and he stood there giving me like an applause, and that meant the world to me at that time, because it would now, but Rampage has been the biggest mentor to me in my career. He picked me when I joined All Star Wrestling in 2010. He took me under his wing, and he taught me so much, and he still teaches me so much to this day. There he is. God, I love that dude, man. My big brother, he really is. And coming backstage, getting that respect from him, I welled up, and I was like, man, I was already emotional, but you've got me now. But yeah, you know, like, NGW has given me so many moments like that, you know, from when they grew from strength to, I went away for a bit and came back as the big baby face. We built this big match between me and Rampage at Hull City Hall. Hull City Hall is the venue I used to go watch wrestling in as a kid. Me and Matty used to go watch All Star there. And I remember getting the magazine from there saying, like, oh, I want to work for All Star one day, because it had all the dates on the back and you could see how busy they were. And to now go into that venue, sell it out against my mentor and somebody who I genuinely believe is one of the very best professional wrestlers on planet Earth. And I've shared the ring with a lot of good wrestlers, and Rampage is in the top two. Always will be. I just think, and it was because in your booked as the good guy, so the crowd are on your side, and then your parents are there. My fiance was there. I'm wrestling Rampage. Myers is obviously there. It was just like stars aligned for a night, and getting the second championship win of for my NGW run that night. It was one of the best moments of my life. It really was, in like this world of wrestling, because you're there in it as well. Like, it isn't just like when you get a championship, it's not just because, oh well, there you go, we need to get the championship to somebody. Like, it's thought that goes into that. Like okay, who do we trust? Who do we trust to actually be in that position and give us good matches at the end of a very good wrestling show? You know, it means a lot. It meant a lot when Progress gave me it back in the day, like for their first one. I was like, wow, guys, you trusted me to help you launch this company. Shit, that's pretty huge. Just like, do you know what I mean? Like, all that stuff means a lot. There we are. The staff. There we are. Oh man, that was
bringing back some memories today.
That first run of Progress. Yeah, man, that first run of Progress was. But the origin run was also a lot of fun as well. But yeah.
Let's flash up some.
It meant a lot to me.
Absolutely. Let's flash up some pictures, some blasts from the past. And this must have been when you was the prima donna back in the early days.
And Rich was my manager. That's it. Yeah, that was area. Rich Dunner's my manager there at RDW, which has now gone under, but they ran out of like Grimsby Skeggy area. Yeah, there it was.
He's a good-looking chap, isn't he? He's a good-looking chap.
Yeah,
and I think
so
was
much
that you and I think is that Myers in there? And of course, like I say, that's when you won your first NGW championship.
Yeah, I was I just cut to trunks. So.
And of course, there he is with your first championship.
It's still stuck on me and Myers on my end.
Right, okay. We just wait for it to catch up a little bit, but like I say, you had a fantastic journey with NGW, and your second reign lasted for over 500 days, 531 days after that classic win against Rampage. So, like I say, some great memories and some fantastic championship reigns there. And you're the only 3-time NGW World Champion, I understand. So that company will always mean a lot to you, won't it?
I will say, well, it will. And while we're on that, like those matches, there's 3 that are all online now of me and Matt Myers, and obviously means so much to us too. But we main evented the whole City Hall against each other 3 times, and each time we sold the venue out. And all 3 of them, like if you watch them back to back, like the teleconnecting story and one that I'm so proud of those matches. Like they're some of the best things that I've ever done. Like I can just be so creative with Matty because he's so creative, and we just bounce off each other, and you just have that chemistry because you grew up together. I guess that's where it comes from. Like, it's he really. I'm an only child, and I've got like 4 people in my life who I consider like brothers to me, and he obviously is the closest one I have because he has been with me for this entire journey. So every time we get to do these together, something special happens. I can't explain it. I don't know what it is, but all those 3, particularly the cage match, the last one. I mean, I'm so proud of that. Like I remember coming out of that one, and Kip Sabian was there, and he kissed me, and he looked me dead in the eyes and just said, "You are the best wrestler in the world." And I was like, wow, well, that means a lot, Kip. And then I turned around to the guy who was booking Defiant Wrestling at the time, and he said, "He's not wrong, mate. Like, you are the best." And I was like, wow, okay. And it was funny because at that time, he didn't really think too much of me, I don't think. Like, he was on the fence about bringing me into Defiant from what I'd heard. And then he'd seen that, and then for him to turn around and say, "He's not lying, you are the best." I was like, okay, yeah, I think I've just done something pretty good then. And that was the end of 2017, and that was my year when I was really down, really down with wrestling because everything what happened with WWE at the end of 16 kind of filtered into that year, and it was a big confidence booster. But yeah, that match I'm immensely proud of. But all 3 of them, like, check them out, they're all online. The 3 of my favorite matches that I've ever had.
Yeah, absolutely. And we quickly skipped over Progress because you are, and not many people might know this, but you are the very first Progress World Champion with the staff there. No bout back in 2012. You were there from Chapter 1. I think you wrestled for Progress for many, many years, all the way through to about Chapter 50 plus. But any kind of really fond memories of your time with Progress then? Because I know that you're a 2-time Progress Tag Team Champion.
I can't remember the chapter numbers. I always forget the chapter numbers where it was. I just remember the years.
but you're also a 2-time Tag Team Champion, weren't you? As one half of the Origin. So you had a lot of success there, a lot of great storylines, a lot of great matches. But you must be very proud to have been the start of that Progress story, really. That saga, 10 years on, Progress is still going very strong, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm so proud to say I helped in whatever way I did. Yeah. My personal favorite moments, sad. I mean, yeah, again when I lost. There's one when I lost the tag team titles at the end of night 1 of Super Strong Style 16, and the reason it meant so much to me was because Strong Style 16 has some of the best independent talents from around the world, giving everything in every single match. So the audience can get burnt out pretty easily, and we were last. We were main event in the show, and I'm like, wow. Okay, we've got a lot to follow. Like, how have we got? I hope we can get them, but we did. And there's a picture James Musselwhite got of me kicking out of a near fall, and you can see every single face in that ballroom is reacting. Everyone's on their feet. There's arms. Oh no! Like, they can't believe I kicked out, and then obviously when we lost, there was a huge reaction. But I just remember thinking how proud I was to have got that crowd in the palm of our hands after they'd seen so much wrestling that day. Like, they'd seen so much. I was like, we got them. Like, that meant a lot to me. I had so much fun with that. Like, everything at Brixton when we did that, and the hailing toilet paper, and it was all like, that was class. I just loved that stuff. Anytime I got to work with Gibson, I was happy. because we bounced off it when we wrestled against each other, when we were teaming or whatever it is we did together. We had great chemistry. I loved doing that stuff, and I loved working against Eddie, Dennis, and Mark Andrews. It was something I'd wanted for a long time. We did the hardcore match with those guys in Manchester. I got to show side of. I assume that I think everybody kind of assumes because of the professional or whatever. Like I kind of look down my nose at that type of wrestling when I don't. Like I have an appreciation for that stuff as well, and that was good for me to be able to kind of get into that creative outlet and show that I'm willing to get lobbed on drawing pins and into ladders and stuff like that if the story is right for it. And it was and against those guys, which I again, like I said, I'd wanted to work for a long time. I fought a lot of Mark Andrews for a long time. Really, really wanted to wrestle him. And Eddie, I kind of just through progress was like, Eddie's really good actually. I want to do some stuff with Eddie. Like it was all those things that we did with the Origin was a lot of fun. I had so much enjoyment. The match with Moser, like that was again like where I could show a different side to me and do some more hardcore stuff, but without it, with it meaning something, not just being thrown away like we built to this moment. I really, really, I've just fond memories really like of that time. I wish it had ended differently, 100%. Like it just ended the way it ended. But I do enjoy. Like I look back at it now and go, that's cool because progress it's going to go down in history, and I'm a big part of that, and that's pretty cool to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I briefly want to touch on, I know we glossed over it earlier, we spoke about WWE in slightly different terms, but you did have some tryouts for WWE and some matches as well. Now, the two matches that I'm familiar with is your match against Elias Sampson. I think that was the back end of 2016 on NXT in Florida. And then your dark match on day 2 of the UK tournament in January 2017. First of all, how did you kind of get involved with having that match with Elias over in Florida back end of 2016? Because once again, a great opportunity. Was that part of a tryout weekend, or did you get invited to be a part of that show? How did that all come about?
No. This was I tried out for WWE in 2014 originally. They were very interested in me. Later that year, me and Justin Sizemore did a dark match as a tag team against the Usos on SmackDown. It was kind of like stayed in touch with me in 15, but there wasn't any like direction or indication anything was going to happen. And then in 2016, Sam Callahan had been released and he'd come over and done some shows over in England. And he did NGW and he did Progress, and I was on both those shows. So he did NGW, and I picked him up at a hotel in the morning. We drove all the way to London, and he'd watched my match the night before and give me a big G up and was like, "Dude, you're good. You should do a tour of the States." And at that point, I'd not been to the United States. And full credit to Sammy Callahan, he sorted that out for me. He got me booked all over that country and gave me my first tour. I'm so eternally grateful. Sorry. To Sammy for sorting that tour out. Now, obviously at that point, Cash, I'm just going to call him Dan from now on. I think he's got his real name on Twitter now, so I don't mind doing it. Like he had, like obviously he and I had become friends when he wrestled over here. We'd met 10 years ago to this summer, in fact, and so I was catching up with him a bunch while I was there. Like we was just hanging out and whatever. And he said, "Look, I've got an NXT tapings this week. Why don't you email Regal, see if it's okay to come by?" So I did. Regal said, "Yeah, absolutely, come by. It'd be great to see you." So off we go, and I get to the venue, and Regal says, "Like, I'm real sorry. I tried to get you a match, but I think they're going to use this local talent instead." To which Dan looks at me and just goes, "Leave it with me." Anyways, later on, like Dan's gone. I think he put his in this. I'm happy to tell this story because I just want everyone to know what an incredible human being he is. But he went to Matt Bloom and said, "Like, I know you're using this talent, but he lives in Florida. You could use him next week. Nathan goes home to England next week. Just give him a chance, please." And Matt Bloom said, "Well, okay, but if something goes wrong, it's on your head." And like Dan said, "Yeah, okay." Like he literally put his neck on the line for me, like, and so he comes up to me and tells me the news. Robbie Brookside was my agent, which was great because he was the one that had got me my tryouts in the first place, and very much been a part of me getting anywhere near to WWE and their eyes on me. So it was a big thing. And Elias was great. He was just an absolute, professional. Like, blows my mind that he's not world champion because he looks the part and he's one of the most charismatic guys and athletic guys. Like, he's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, loved working. And my entire experience there was just so positive. Like, I loved it. I left that day gleaming.
I think we're losing you a bit there, Nathan.
I felt and then I owe it to Dan. I do.
We got you back.
Like, that's the truth of it. And it was an awesome day, and I'm so grateful to him because I think that was the one that kind of cemented that there was going to offer me something for NXT UK later that year. I'm so touching the surface of what he's done for me.
Yeah.
Are you back now, there, Jonas? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think we've just caught up, so we're all good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry about this. I think my Wi-Fi is struggling to reach here. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. But please carry on.
Just to end that, it was to get up to it was I got that day because of Dan, and he's an incredible human being. I'm so proud to call him my friend, and I'm so proud of obviously everything he's accomplished. But that is how that NXT match happened, and like, I like telling that story because I think he never would want to put the spotlight on himself, but he doesn't give himself enough credit for how good of a person he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk to you about WOS wrestling because you was a big part of that TV show, that project that happened in 2018. 2 days worth of tapings over in Norwich. And like I say, part of the tag team with Adam Maxted, got to the final of the tag team tournament. Had some great experiences there, including a ladder match with Adam towards the end of the tapings there. Give us your overall thoughts, feelings, and memories to WOS, and kind of what did you take away from that experience? Certainly those 2 days over in Norwich.
The TV companies don't like taking direction from people that know what they're talking about.
I have heard about that.
Probably the wrong thing to say there, but it was just overall. I remember during filming, we were like, "This is awesome." Yeah, just. I remember when we were filming it, there was just such a great buzz. Like, everyone was like, "This is awesome." Everyone's going out there with every intention of smashing this, and we all did. We all just. I just remember like looking around the change room at one point, and like people were kind of getting involved in helping put together other people's matches as well. Like, you'd see other people like, "Oh, why don't you guys do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're working as a team here. This is a team. Like, this is awesome. Like, this is something I want to be a part of. Like, see, just everybody working together to make sure that this succeeds is incredible." And milestone in British wrestling history at that point. So yeah, it was awesome to do, and for me to work with Adam, I mean, God, like, it is somebody I've just gelled with over the last couple of years, like prior to that last couple of years, and then going on after that. I mean, me and Adam just have incredible in-ring chemistry. He cracks me up outside the ring more than anybody. Like, he's one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. I love being around that guy. So I was like, this is going to be incredible, and it was such a good experience. Overall, like, obviously there was frustrations towards the end because it was the editing that inevitably kind of let the show down, and it's just one of them. It's out of your control. Do you know what I mean? I just wish that the fans had been a bit more like patient with it and understood that this is a first series. It's already been all filmed. It's not like you can go and just change it next week. So, like, just be patient, and we can correct things with the second series. Like, because there there was talks of that, but because it was met with such bad backlash instantly, we didn't get that opportunity to kind of see where it could actually go. It's a shame. It is what it is, and I aren't saying it is that's the reason why. I think there may have also been people that didn't want it there in the first place. But yeah, it's just one of them that everything that I got from that was positive, really, when I think to it.
Oh, I think we've just lost Nathan there. Hopefully he'll come back in a second. Wi-Fi issues. Hope you're enjoying the stream so far. We will get Nathan CRUZ back very, very shortly. Just waiting for him to rejoin the stream. But obviously some connection issues from wherever he's chatting to me from. Please continue to send in your questions to Wrestling with Johners for Nathan CRUZ. And like I say, when he reconnects, hopefully we'll get a chance to ask your questions. I do have one or two that have already come in so far. But like I say, hopefully we'll get Nathan back very, very shortly. So please stay with the stream. But like I say, we've heard some great stories about Nathan's love for pro wrestling. Some great stories of BWR, NGW. We was in the middle of hearing about Nathan's story with WOS and some interesting stories about WWE there. And I think we're just getting Nathan back now. Nathan's rejoined the stream. How you doing there? Technical issues aren't going to get the better of us.
My local internet can go to, yeah.
But we're getting to the end of the interview now. But we've done very, very well so far. What I'm going to do, Nathan, is I'm going to bring up some questions that have come in throughout the course of the interview and some that dropped in before we went live. Like I say, let's see how we get on with some of these. But first of all, a question from Paul Dougie Douglas. What are your opinions on deathmatch wrestling, and would you ever consider participating in one if you haven't already? So deathmatch wrestling, give us your opinions on them, and would you ever do one?
Look, if it was right, yeah. It's something that I wouldn't be going out my way to do every single night, ever. Hey, but if it was right for it,
yeah.
Like it'd just have to be, and it would be a one-off scenario. It wouldn't be something I'll be doing all the time. But yeah, like it's definitely something that I would consider doing.
Yeah. No, like I say, I wouldn't want to do any deathmatch wrestling. I'm not even sure if I like watching them, to be honest with you. They're just very, very dangerous. But we've got a question that came through earlier from somebody you know very well. Scott Bell sent us a question at the beginning of the stream. What is Nathan's favorite match or moment in his career? So Scott, who I hope is watching the stream live, sent us that question. And what's your favorite match or moment in your career so far then, Nathan?
I think if there was to put them both together, it's that one with Rampage that I said earlier when, I got the second NGW championship against him at Hull City Hall. It's probably it was just one of those moments where just everything aligned. But the ladder match that Max Stead and I had in Blackpool on the WOS tour, I mean, the atmosphere that night was something like I've never experienced in my life. It was insane. We just yeah, we just laid it into each other. We really went at it that night, and I remember thinking, like, it's one of them where I know I've left every last drop in the ring. But yeah, there's so many to really like. I pretty much everyone that I've mentioned prior about my favorite title losses and stuff like that, it's so difficult to just pinpoint one. But yeah, that Rampage one is the one that kind of always comes to mind first. Like, that's pretty special to me.
Absolutely. And another question that dropped in before we went live from Elliot Marriott. We know Elliot very well, probably the best wrestling graphic designer pretty much anywhere, certainly in the UK and Europe anyway. But he sent in a question. Without question, you should be all over the world showcasing your ability as one of the most well-rounded wrestlers in the industry. But what would you say your own personal goal is within wrestling? Is there an end goal or a main destination, a company you strive to work with that you would consider, I've made it? Or is it more just where the journey takes you? And he closes by saying, I'm a huge fan and I will support your journey however I can. So the main crux of the question is there a main goal or a destination where you would consider that you've made it then, Nathan?
I mean, it was WWE. I mean, my blood pressure's under control now, so I suppose it would always that would still be the place. But in North America or in AEW, like if I can end up in America, essentially, I'm happy because I love it there. Like that's probably it. But like I've always said that I've not wrestled in Japan in my career, and I want to. Like that's a big thing for me that I really want to tick off. Huge Godzilla fan when I was a kid. Like I love those movies. When I was a kid, I lived by them. So I've wanted to visit Japan since I was about 6 or 7 years old, watching those films. And then it just so happens that they have a great wrestling culture out there. And Power Rangers also started there. There's a bunch of geeky reasons I want to go, but I really, really want to. And it's got some absolute beautiful parts to it as well, like that. That I'm into hiking and stuff like that. And so I'd love to go to Japan and experience what that wrestling culture is like out there because I've had students of mine that I've managed to get there, and I was so proud of them for going and hearing about their experience. And it was, it's just something that I'd love to do, but I don't know if I have an end goal, because WWE was my end goal, and when I didn't get it, it just upset me so much that I think almost now, it's not that I'm scared of setting an end goal, it's just that I'm like, I just want to enjoy it now. Like when I came back from lockdown, that was my main thing, was just like, let's just enjoy it. Let's just go back, and instead of focusing about everything that you do to impress WWE or get to WWE, just go and just enjoy being a wrestler. And that's kind of where I'm at now with it. And I even see myself possibly moving into other roles within wrestling so that I can further benefit the British wrestling industry. To answer your question about an end goal, if I'm starting to formulate a new one, it would be to help this scene get better. I want to do something groundbreaking. I want to change this forever so that people don't have to be in the position that I ended up in, where you don't have to think that you have to go to a WWE and AEW with Impact, New Japan. Like, what if you could actually make a full-time living here and have just as many dates? I stacked it. I remember my busiest schedule in 2011. I had 257 dates that year. I was extremely busy. Not that I'm saying I want to drag people away from their families or anything like that, but I think there's scope to create something like that here. And maybe that's something I might dive into. I don't know, but for right now, just enjoying being a wrestler. I'm just enjoying being a wrestler, and if I get an opportunity to either of those dreams come true, awesome. That's awesome.
Well, I think you're doing some of the best work of your career, to be honest with you. Like I say, with your experience, your knowledge you've built up over 16 years, your ability in the ring, the character that you're kind of developing, certainly over the last 12 months. And I think many of your fans and followers and friends and family will kind of agree that I think this is kind of like the total package, Nathan CRUZ, that we finally got in 2022. But before we kind of say goodbye, there's an opportunity for you to throw out your socials, Nathan. Where can we reach out, say hi, learn more about Nathan CRUZ, whether it be on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you might be, my friend? The floor is yours to throw out your socials.
Okay, so Instagram is the one that I personally have the most involvement in. That's at Nathan_CRUZ90. You can keep in touch with like things that's going on on my Twitter page as well, which is at Nathan_CRUZ19 as well. YouTube, I do have a YouTube channel that's kind of like still in works of being finalized. Like, it's been there for a while and I've kind of been active with it, but I haven't been as active with it as I should, and I've kind of got somebody kind of helping me with that at the moment. So yeah, but you can go on there and check out a bunch of matches of mine that are still on there that I'm quite proud of. Yeah, other than that, don't add me on Facebook. Facebook's for Nathan Irwin. That's why it's Nathan Irwin and not Nathan Cruz. And I keep it very, very personal and private. Like, that's just, please respect that. Like, that's away from wrestling. That's got my fiance, my dog, my closest friends and family and their kids and stuff. I just want to please respect that privacy. So anytime I get friend requests on that, I do feel bad that I'd click decline, and I'd even drop some people a message, and I still feel kind of rude, but I guess I shouldn't because it's my own privacy. So just don't add me on Facebook. I think there's a Facebook fan page. Someone used to run that for me, so I'm useless at it.
But Instagram's the best place to get you, isn't it? Instagram's the best place to get you.
Instagram's the one I have the most personal involvement, and the Twitter one is very active as well. Like, you can get in touch through that.
There we go. But before we say goodbye, I just want to kind of announce or kind of re-announce who my next guest is going to be on Wrestling with Johners. And it's this coming Saturday, the 17th of September, live on Wrestling with Johners on Twitch, on YouTube and Facebook. And it's none other than formerly known as Scotty Too Hotty. Scott Garland will be joining me live on the Wrestling with Johners, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern, Saturday the 17th of September. I'm sure you're a fan of Scotty from back in the day, Nathan.
I was just about to say, John, I was flipping heck. Like, you've stacked the card here. Like, I'm like, here I am, and I'm telling his story. Yeah, good guess, man. I'm impressed. Good for you.
Absolutely. You'll have to tune in and send in a couple of questions for Scott Garland.
Well, tell you what, everybody could do as well. After they get back from the NGW show on Friday night at the Hull City Hall on September 16th, you can then, on the Saturday night, enjoy listening to John's podcast with Scotty Too Hotty. What a wrestling weekend that could be, right?
Exactly. It doesn't get any better. And then, of course, the following week, I've got Maggot from WXW over in Germany. And to round off the month, RJ Singh will be coming on the Wrestling with John's podcast. So a stacked month of legends coming on the show in the month of September. But Nathan Cruz, I want to thank you so much for your time. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to your stories.
I want to apologise about the signal. I'm just so annoyed.
We got through it, my friend. We got through it.
I hope everybody enjoyed listening to this and let me ramble about wrestling, because I love talking about it.
It's been a fantastic hour and 21 minutes listening to you talk about a wonderful career, a wonderful 16 years and many more to come, and all the great things you're doing with the Academy as well. But Nathan Cruz, just want to thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much, John. It's been a pleasure.